Christmas holiday. If everybody in the feeding lines could come on in. Everybody from the kitchen could come on in.
Turn off the background.
Yes. Thank you. Perfect. Just turn it down. Perfect.
Tom, our engineer up there, I think.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Thanks everybody so much for coming down tonight and braving the slippery roads and coming to the party. We love having you all here. As usual, it's a great compliment to us to fill our house with all you guys. You're really special. So we have a particularly special kind of thing going on tonight. It happens to be Kevin's celebration of Kevin's 50th birthday, and you don't get through 50 without some kind of a deal. So I was talking to Mike Whiting, and Mike says, well, in his very best Andy Hardy voice, said, well, let's put on a show. And so we decided we would. And so we thought, what would the show be about? And it'd have to be about Kevin somehow. But how would that work? And I don't know. Is there a lot of stuff? So we thought we'd just take a look at Kevin's life. And no, through a kind of a special lens. Through a special lens, Kevin is a special lens as time goes by.
Should Kevin be someplace other than
Kevin's fine. There's only one director of this, and the director has the megaphone. Michael?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, for those, the theme is going to be the movie Casablanca, and for those of you who are not familiar with the movie, I'll apologize in advance because the plot is fairly convoluted to begin with, and our narration is going to do nothing to help you understand it at all. We're taking some real liberties. And in fact, those of you who know the movie, I'll also make the same apology and hope you'll not be discouraged from watching it again sometime. So, with that, Madam. Bonsoir, Mesdames and Messieurs. Bienvenue, Rick Café Americain. Yes, welcome everyone to Rick's American Cafe in Casablanca, French Morocco. The date is December 3rd, 1941. France has surrendered to Germany, and the German army occupies all of northern France. They've set up a puppet government by the name of Vichy that operates southern France and all of their colonies, including Casablanca, where we are today. Refugees from all over Europe stream into Casablanca, hoping to get a visa by black market or by bribing the local officials in order to get to Lisbon and then to America to escape the Nazis. Many black market visas are sold right here in Rick's Cafe. Let me introduce our characters. First and foremost is Kevin Cosgrove, formerly known as, and now known as, Richard Blaine, aka Rick, who owns our cafe this evening. Rick is an American expatriate who, for some mysterious reason, cannot return to the United States. Rumor has it has something to do with some girlfriends in Chicago who are looking for him. Rick is a tough bird, outwardly cynical and tough. He professes no political loyalties and says he doesn't care who wins the war. He sticks his chin out for nobody and concentrates on running his saloon, and Rick is a heavy drinker. Sitting in the middle of the room, if I can clear the smoke, is Captain Renault. He's the Vichy prefect of police here at Casablanca and the civil authority. He's a charming rogue and a thoroughly corrupt political official. He's a friend of Rick's because Rick lets him win at the roulette table. Renault has no convictions whatsoever, but the prevailing wind is blowing from Germany, and so he collaborates with the Germans, told he secretly despises them. Seated with Captain Renaud this evening is Major Heinrich Strasser, a Luftwaffe ace and a special envoy from Berlin who's been sent here with the mission to prevent Victor Laszlo, the Norwegian freedom fighter, from escaping Casablanca and getting to the United States. Over in the far corner is Ungarte, a toady, small-time black marketeer who plans to make it big tonight. Ungarte has in his pocket 2 letters of transit stolen from murdered German couriers. These letters of transit allow anyone to leave Casablanca and they cannot be stopped. He plans to sell them to Victor Laszlo this evening for a very high sum. Ungarte has given the letters to Rick, and Rick has hidden them in Sam's piano. Now, the musicians this evening to my right are Sam, Rick's companion from Paris, who's had a sex change operation since the meeting. On my far right is Stephen, the gypsy guitarist, who's also had a sex change operation. And I'm Benny Goodguy, and I'm substituting for Rick's entire reed and horn section in his band this evening. So why don't we go into Rick's Cafe Americain and hear some The Jazz Hot.
Oh, Kev, you used to have a baby face. Now you're older, there is not a trace of a baby face. You'll find it's not so nifty now that you're turning 50. No baby face. And just as you will find no baby waist. But thank the saints above, because the girls still love that not so baby face.
Well, I hope you were all paying attention during that last number, because a lot happened. Now, knowing that Ungarte has the letters of transit, has arranged his arrest here tonight in Rick's Cafe in order to impress Major Strasser. And during that last number, there was an exchange of gunshots. Ungarte was arrested and hauled away and never to be seen again. But, as we all know, the letters of credit remain in Sam's piano. Now, later in the evening, Victor Laszlo comes to Rick's Cafe. Victor is a renowned freedom fighter and Nazi resistor throughout Europe. He's recently escaped from a Nazi concentration camp and has come to Casablanca in the hopes of obtaining passage to Lisbon and the United States in order to carry on his fight against the Nazis. In fact, he had planned to meet Ungarte tonight and buy the letters of transit. He's accompanied by the beautiful Ilse Lund, the most beautiful woman in Casablanca. Ilse and Laszlo are secretly married. Secretly because they want to keep their marriage a secret in order that the Nazis would not arrest Ilse. She plans to flee with Victor this evening, as soon as they get the letters of transit, to Lisbon and the United States. However, there's a backstory. Ilse and Rick have a past. A year ago, in June of 1940, Ilse and Rick met in Paris. At that time, Ilse had been informed and believed that her husband, Victor, had been shot and killed trying to escape from the Nazi concentration camp. She was lonely, and she and Rick had a passionate but brief affair in Paris and fell deeply in love with one another. They plan to leave Paris together before the Nazis arrive. However, on the night that they plan to go, Ilse finds out from a friend that Victor, in fact, is alive. He's been wounded trying to escape and is lying in the outskirts of Paris. Ilse knows that she must stay with her husband. She also knows that Rick won't leave without her. So she puts together a plan to trick Rick. She tells him that they'll leave on the train from Paris at 5 o'clock. Tells Rick to meet her at the train station at the last minute, which Rick does. However, Ilse never shows up. Instead, she sends a message that says she can't leave with him, although she loves him very much, but she does not explain why. Rick leaves Paris a devastated and bitter man.
Look at how devastated.
So that's the backstory. So Ilse spies Sam in the cafe and recognizes him as Rick's companion from Paris. And she calls him over to her table and says, Sam, I'd like you to play our favorite song from Paris. She says, play it for me, Sam. Play as time goes by. Rick?
Are we allowed to applaud?
Oh, sure, by all means. We encourage it. Rick strides into the room. He's furious because he's told Sam never to play that song again. He walks to the piano, but his gaze turns up and he sees Ilse for the first time in a year and a half. His jaw drops and he's bewildered and loses his composure. He stares at her intently, but eventually regains his composure. He sits down at the table with Victor and Ilse, and he and Ilse exchange casual greetings and begin to talk, small talk, but they're intently looking at one another, not taking their eyes off. Later, Major Strasser comes to the table and advises Laszlo and Ilse that they cannot leave Casablanca and says there will be no visa for them. He instructs them to come to Renault's office the next morning. Reluctantly and with no choice, they agree. Everyone leaves the saloon later in the evening, and Rick is left alone by himself in the dark saloon. He's devastated. He realizes that he's still in love with the woman who rejected him. And as he pounds the table, his thoughts return to happier times in Paris with Ilse. awakens from his stupor, and Ilse walks in late at night in the dark saloon. She sits down and wants to tell Rick why she had to leave him in Paris. But Rick is drunk, bitter, and sarcastic, and cuts her off before she can get her story out. He asks her whether she's been with other men before Laszlo. Sadly, Ilse leaves the room knowing that she can't tell Rick the real story because he's not the man she thought she was in Paris. Rick is left alone in the dark saloon, pounding his fist on the table. Of all the gin joints in all the towns, in all the world, she walks into mine. The next day, Laszlo and Ilse go to the Blue Parrot and talk to Signor Ferrari to see if they can get a black market visa. Ferrari tells him there is no visa to be had for Laszlo. There's no way that he's going to be able to leave Casablanca. But he does tell them that he thinks that Rick has the letters of transit, which is their only hope. Later that night, Ilse goes to Rick's office above the saloon and pleads with him to sell her the letters of credit so that she and Laszlo can get to the United States. Rick, bitter and resentful, refuses. Ilse then pulls a gun, points it at him, and says, "Sell me those letters." And Rick walks closer to her and says, "Go ahead and shoot me. You'll be doing me a favor." And then the Kevin comes out and says, "And I hope you're a better shot than my last girlfriend in Chicago." But Ilse can't shoot Rick because she's still in love with him. She falls into his arms, professing her continuing love. She tells Rick of her secret marriage to Laszlo and why she couldn't leave Paris with him. She tells him she does not have the strength to leave him again, and says that he'll have to do the plans and the thinking for she, her husband, and Rick. Okay, here's where the plot really gets convoluted. Ilse and Rick cook up a plan. They agree that they're going to stay with each other in Casablanca, but they have to get Laszlo to the airport. So Ilse will tell Laszlo that Rick is going to give him the letters of credit, or letters of transit, so that he and Ilse can get to Lisbon. Then, when they get to the airport, Ilse will tell Laszlo that she's still in love with Rick, can't leave him, and plans to stay with Rick. And then Laszlo will have no choice but to go on without her. And that's what she tells Laszlo. But the next day, unbeknownst to both Ilsa and Laszlo, Rick goes to Renault and tells him about a plan to frame Laszlo. He tells him that he will sell the letters of transit to Laszlo in the cafe that evening. And he tells Renault to be present so that he can see the transaction, thereby implicating Laszlo in the murder of the German couriers. And Renault is all for that because that will give him some stripes in Major Strasser's eyes. So that's the plan.
That's
That
exactly like one of Kevin's relationships.
Exactly. Twisted. That evening, with Renault hiding up in Rick's office, Laszlo enters the saloon with Ilsa, and Rick hands him the letters of credit. Renault strides down the steps and announces that Laszlo is under arrest. However, at that point, Rick turns the tables on Renault. He points a gun at him and tells him to endorse the letters of credit in the names of both Laszlo and Ilsa, and orders him to call the airport to clear their leaving for Lisbon. However, Renault secretly dials Strasser's number and repeats Rick's message, but to Strasser, who picks up on what's going on. So Ilsa, Rick, and Laszlo drive to the airport. But when they get there, Rick reveals his true plan. He convinces Ilsa that her true role is to stay with her husband, go to America, and help him swing the Americans against the Nazi cause. Ilsa resists, but he reminds her, well, we'll always have Paris. Reluctantly and tearfully, Ilsa walks to the plane with her husband. And then in the faint background, we can hear Rick's mother all the way from America saying, "Will I never have more grandchildren?" Suddenly, however, Strasser pulls up in his car. He goes to the phone, calls the tower, and tries to stop the airplane from leaving for Lisbon. There's an exchange of gunshots between Rick and Strasser falls dead on the floor. Just then, Renault's men pull up in their squad car, surround the body, and Renault announces Major Strasser's been shot. There's a sudden, tense, long silence as Renault and Rick look at one another, neither knowing what the other's going to do. And suddenly, Renault announces, round up the usual suspects. The police drag Strasser's body away and leave Rick and Renault walking through the foggy runway as the plane takes off for Lisbon. And they're making their plans to join the Free French garrison in Brazzaville. And Rick looks to Renault and says, "Louis, this could be the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Pause. One more time, everybody. It had to be you. Yes, it had to be you. I wandered around and finally found somebody who could
so much for having a little fun with our play, with our show, and we have something special happening right now. Do we?
We do,
I was just
but
wanting
we're
to
gonna
say-
hear Babyface again.
I just wanted to say, Louis, I think this could be the start of it.
Here's looking at you, Kevin.
We have. Are we bringing those out? We're not.
We are, but they wanted to hear Babyface again.
Yeah. We can do Babyface again. We'll do a short version of Baby.
One
We have,
time.
yeah, one time.
Are you just gonna do the vocals?
Yeah, I'll just do the vocal.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Baby face, oh Kev, you had a baby face, but now you're older, there is not a trace of the baby face. You'll find it's not so nifty now that you're turning 50, no baby face. And just as tragic you will find the old baby ways. But bless the saints above, because the girls still love that not so baby face. Fates above, because the girls still love that not so baby face.
All of the songs that we played are actually in the soundtrack of the movie. Most of them are played as background music in the saloon. You don't pay attention to them, but they're all. And I want to thank our chanteuse, who I didn't acknowledge, Mary, whose part was dropped entirely in the film credits. So, thank you, Mary. Wonderful.
So, has everybody got some? They're around. Yep.
Sam and the gypsy.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
We need 14 more up here.
so we had a lot of fun at Kev's expense, and the real truth of the matter is that he's been a great son to Kathy. He's been a great friend to me for years and years and years, and really in years and years, and so really the only toast I can give you after the whole thing is here's looking at you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kevin. Happy birthday to you. And one additional that my husband's family would always say. May the dear Lord bless you. May the dear Lord bless you. May the dear Lord bless Kevin. May the birthday to you.
We know that. I thought I remember actually doing the Irish toast. With the,
I couldn't remember.
May you be dead half an hour before the devil knows you're gone.
Hey Kevin, you're now officially on the back nine.
Thanks, Liz. I love you too, buddy.
And I want to say, I'm very, very proud to be the mom of this wonderful.
Thanks to so many wonderful people for coming out tonight. I mean, I just love you guys all to pieces. It's been a special night for me. Thank you so much.